Okay, so Spider-Man No Way Home is a film that has really stuck with me. In my initial review, I said it had one of the best endings to a Marvel movie ever, but since then, as I've thought on it more, I really can't think of many films in general that top those final few scenes. Outside of maybe The Matrix, The Godfather, Inception, or The Dark Knight Rises, there's few finales that have had such an impact on me and left me getting goosebumps time and time again. I've now seen the movie 3 times, and every single time that I get to the conclusion, I realise how well crafted and bittersweet of a final chapter this is for the first Tom Holland Spider-Man trilogy. Throughout this video, we're going to be breaking it down, but obviously there will be heavy spoilers. If you agree the ending is absolutely perfect, then please click the thumbs up button and make sure you subscribe so you don't forget about us. With that out of the way, thank you for clicking this. Now let's get into our breakdown. Okay, so the movie itself picks up right after the events of Far From Home, with Peter's identity out there. Though the heat from the press and police somewhat dies down, it clearly affects not only himself but also his friends and family. Ned and MJ are very much pulled into the court of public opinion along with him, and because of this their college applications are rejected. During the damage control interrogation, there's a subtle little line in which the officer says MJ is a smart young woman with a bright future ahead of her, but he also pays lip service to the fact that she's ruined it by getting involved with Peter Parker. Later on, the Green Goblin taunts Peter by saying that though he struck the blow that killed Aunt May, Peter was the one who killed her by being the reason that she was there. Peter Parker, in general, is somewhat of a tragic figure, and like it or not, he often ends up hurting the people he loves. This has been shown with Uncle Ben, Gwen Stacy, and in No Way Home, Aunt May very much dies because of the choices he makes. It's a problem that heroes often end up having to deal with in comic book movies, and we've seen it in films like The Dark Knight with Rachel, Lois Lane in like every Superman property ever, Iron Man with Pepper Potts, and so on and so forth. Just by being a hero in the public eye, people close to them can be put in danger because the villains will always hurt those around a person if they can't get to the person themselves. However, No Way Home is a bit more subtle than that, and early on the pain Peter causes to those around him comes in the form of the MIT rejection that his friends get. Not you, Flash, you're not his real friend. Now the trio had their whole life planned out and just wanted to move to Boston together in order to start the next chapter with each other. Sadly though, the expose by Mysterio has ruined their chances, and because of this they're stuck, unable to have the future that they worked so hard for. Thus Peter ends up going to Doctor Strange to basically do the remove wanted level cheat on Grand Theft Auto. However, his necessity to pull his friends and family into retaining that knowledge leads to a lot of problems. If you think about it, had Peter let the spell play out as intended, then none of the tragedies that happened in this film would have, and his need to keep those around him in on his vigilante lifestyle is what broke the multiverse. That's why come the end of the film, his decision to erase himself from everyone's memory is so important. He's finally showing maturity, whilst also sacrificing the relationship that he has with those he loves the most, because keeping them involved with things would cause further issues. Now the film is an absolute blast, and it gets better every time I watch it. Whether it's the villains returning, Matt Murdock getting brought into the MCU, or Toby and Andrew sharing the screen together, every scene builds on the last. It all amounts to a showdown at the Statue of Liberty, and though things go well on the most part, the Green Goblin ends up breaking the spell open, which causes the entire multiverse to rip apart. Villains from every universe begin to come into the MCU, and thus Peter has to make a drastic choice. He goes to Doctor Strange and asks him to cast a spell that will make the entire world forget that he exists. In many ways, it could be argued that this is somewhat of a fate worse than death. When we pass away, all that will be left behind about us are what people remember us for and the stories that they tell. Because of this choice, no one will be visiting Peter's grave like Happy does to May, and he's very much removed all of the joy and happiness that he brought to the world so that his friends can have an easier life. This action by Peter in killing one side of himself means that he'll now exist somewhat as a ghost who can view them from afar but never really share the joy that they once had. Peter is not doing this because he wants to escape the consequences, he's doing it to save not only the universe but also the lives of those around him that have been destroyed by being associated with his dual personas. He genuinely thinks that those closest to him will be better off without him, constantly pulling them into his web, and he decides that they should forget him. It's something people often do in breakups when they realize that they love someone so much that they'd rather they were happier with someone else because of the pain they're causing. Early on after the first spell, Strange says that Peter is attempting to live two lives, and this is him very much making a choice in which he decides that the world can't live without Spider-Man, but it can live without Peter Parker. He knows that with great power comes great responsibility, and decides to carry on protecting the world and also those closest to him. It's a devastating choice, but it also shows somewhat maturity in the movie, and this is acknowledged by Strange. When Peter first goes to the Sanctum Sanctorum, Strange tells him to call him Stephen instead of Sir. Together the pair had saved the universe with each other, and it's clear that Strange respects him a lot. In fact, there are moments during their first encounter by the fireplace when we see Strange show a level of compassion towards Peter we don't often see from the character. However, after he messes up the spell, Strange makes him go back to calling him Sir because that respect has been lost. However, in the end, after Peter goes to him with his idea, he tells him to call him Stephen, showing that he respects the hell out of what he's about to do. He tells Peter to say his goodbyes, and though we get a great triple hug with Toby and Andrew, the more impactful one for me is the one he has with MJ and Ned. He explains the spell, and though he promises to find them again, it's clear there's some doubt there. Both he and MJ share what could be their last kiss, and this final goodbye really means a lot. Throughout the film, they've tried to have a lot of romantic moments together, but they've all been interrupted, whereas this one just allows the two to share their love for possibly the last time. Peter swings off, and we jump to him walking down the street to visit MJ where she works in order to tell her the truth. It's clear he's planned out exactly what he wants to say, and this should be a big moment in which he saves the world, gets the girl, and also the happy ending that the character deserves. However, that's not how it plays out, and upon Ned entering and the two talking about how they got into MIT, the tone changes a lot. I absolutely love the way that he walks in, and MJ almost waves to him, and you can see that he genuinely thinks that she remembers him. However, Ned walks up instead, and he sits down so that the two can just hang out with each other. Peter is genuinely happy that the pair got into MIT, and you can see the smile start to creep across his face through this scene as he realizes his sacrifice was worth it. He asks her if she's happy, and she genuinely is, whereas with him she was constantly setting her expectations low so that she didn't get disappointed. Just as he's about to tell MJ everything, she brushes her hair out her face to reveal a band-aid right above her eyebrow. At the Statue of Liberty fight, she sustained this injury, and this very much reminds Peter that those closest to him will always get hurt because of his responsibilities. It's heartbreaking watching Peter's eyes water as she starts to ask if there's anything else, and he says no, which works on a number of levels. Not only is he saying that he doesn't want to tell her about himself, but he also says there won't be anything else because he'll not be putting her in any more danger. If you weren't crying already, then the following scene in which he visits May's grave will stop you from being happy, just like happy. Hey, get it? No, never mind. Now, upon her grave, we can see the words, "When you help someone, you help everyone," and this of course references her speech to Peter at Feast. He very much just wanted to send the villains back, but she put the idea in his head that he should cure them instead. This very much sets up the path for Peter's arc, in which he would help the villains so that when they returned home, they'd live their lives for the better. In their universes, they'll probably be helping those around them, and though Peter's sacrifice is a devastating one, it shows just how much good that he's caused across the multiverse. Now, just in the same way that the movie It's a Wonderful Life dealt with someone seeing what life would be like without them, Peter has removed himself in order to have a positive impact. He can still help people as Spider-Man, but he'll no longer be bringing countless others into a life of misery. Just in the same way that May is gone, Peter is gone too, but both have made the world a better place for the ones they loved. The exchange with Happy is incredible, and we then follow Peter as he moves into his first apartment on his own. We catch him studying for his GED, but it's clear he keeps mementos of those that meant the most to him to remind him exactly what he's fighting for. This includes a Lego Emperor Palpatine, and if you cast your mind back to Spider-Man Homecoming, you'll remember that this is what Ned held up on screen the first time that we saw the two friends together. Their friendship was symbolized by the Lego Death Star, and though it got shattered much like the spell caused their lives to be, Peter still keeps this behind as a reminder. He also puts down the coffee cup that MJ served him, and we can see that he's created a new costume on his own. The depiction of Peter in the MCU has often been criticised for a number of things, such as him being Iron Boy Jr. and someone that constantly lives in the shadow of others. However, in the final swing, he finally becomes his own man. He's cast aside the Stark suit, he's no longer reporting to or constantly asking people for advice, he's making his own decisions and living independently. Peter has come a long way, and going forward he'll take the lessons he learned from those around him and use them to become his own man. His new suit starts off a new chapter in his life, and though the people he loves may have forgotten him, he hasn't forgotten them. When we take a step back from the home trilogy and have a look at it, this has very much been one big origin story for the MCU's Peter Parker. He's learned a lot from his peers and those around him, made some selfish choices along with some selfless ones, lost the person closest to him who instilled him with an important lesson, and ended up becoming a Spider-Man that represents what we can be at our best. It wraps up the film in the greatest way possible, and that's why the ending of Spider-Man No Way Home is absolutely perfect. Now obviously I'd love to hear your thoughts on the ending, so make sure you comment below and let me know. We're running a competition right now and giving away 3 copies of the Spider-Man 4K trilogies on the 30th of December, and all you have to do to be in with a chance of winning is like the video, make sure you subscribe with notifications on, and drop a comment below with your thoughts on the ending. We pick the comments at random at the end of the month, and the winners of the last one are on screen right now, so if that's you, then message me on Twitter at HeavySpoilers. If you want something else to watch, then make sure you check out our breakdown of the full film, which will be linked on screen right now. We go over the full plot, talk about where the ending could lead, and also the post-credit scene, so definitely go check it out right after this. If not, then thanks for sitting through the video. I've been Paul, you've been the best, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care, peace.